and welcome back to the pod. Welcome back to the cast, Future Web3 podcast, where each week we talk everything to do with blockchain and AI. This week, I think we're going to focus a little bit more on the AI side of things again, and more so AI surveillance technology and what's new, what's available now, and where we see that going in the future. So, Alec, what have you found so far this week?
Well, there's been a couple articles coming out, and this has been, I think it even goes a bit before the AI phase, and it's all about, it was kind of came around COVID, which was the whole employers monitoring their employees. So with work from home, and in a lot of jobs where you're not necessarily performance based, like say you're doing data entry or something, right? There's a big concern if I'm paying you for 8 hours and I'm not getting 8 hours, that's a problem for me, right? So they started to bring in all these monitoring tools. So like Microsoft Office and all that, they have all that stuff built in, which is relatively easy to use. But the fear now is like, what if you take that to the next level and use AI tools to start tracking? And I'm sure, and you're starting to see it come out because a lot of the tools are pretty easily adapted to that. Mm-hmm. But I think that's really the concern there, the big concern for this week.
Yeah, and I don't think it's as big of a concern that people are making it out to be. And there are a couple studies already done that be it high level studies on some of the concerns that people are having with AI surveillance, because you are getting surveilled. And I know here you have to let your employees know that you are surveilling them, but any company I've ever done any type of work for, like I expect no right to privacy. Like you are using their equipment. If you are being bought by their time, there's no reasonable right to privacy, and you shouldn't expect that.
Yeah, and it's important to note that like everything that you create, like say on a work computer and all, you don't own any of that. Like your password to your email, you don't own. That's the computer, or that's the company's. So I think a lot of people, I know that's a bit of a shock. I remember for a previous company I worked with as a contractor, one of the other people who was also a contractor didn't understand that. So they were using the computer for a lot more personal things. It's like there was a case where that person was on vacation. We had to take control, to access their accounts for various things. And they were just horrified to learn that we had done that. But it's like it's not yours. It's like you don't, and it's not mine either. I was asked to do this, and this, and I did it and provided it back to the owner. So I think people have a hard time grasping it.
Oh, yeah, and it's very surprising to me that people haven't been aware of that. Like I know for the last 10 years, like that's been pretty standard that if you have any type of work information on a personal device, they can remotely access and wipe that device, or you should expect that they can do that, and they have the software installed on your device to do that. Like it's a part of your employment contract, or it should be part of an employment contract or a contracting agreement if you do set out to do that type of work. Like it's just, yep. Like I know for us, I have 3 different laptops. Like I have my consulting laptop. I have a laptop that I use with a person who is employing us full time. And then I have a personal laptop as well. Like I can have complete separation. So there's no way that any type of work that I do for company A can be somehow misinterpreted that it is the rights of company B.
And I think when you like going back to that whole, like the articles that are coming out and all this, of course, it's just like it's this week's talking point with AI. But it's funny because, you see the outrage around, that monitoring using this technology to do that. But then there's the flip side of it. There's the people who really understand the technology. It's like, well, if you're going to use AI to monitor me, I'm going to use AI to make it look like I'm working type thing, right? So, I mean, like there's just as many people, there's 2 sides. That's the beauty of a new piece of tech like this is there's creativity on both sides of that spectrum. And I got to tell you too, like having dealt with so many people over the years and worked with so many different people, sometimes I'd almost prefer to work with an AI. So if somebody, if ChatGPT's on the other side working, it might not be so bad.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people are missing a whole piece to this AI that I think has such a great opportunity for the management style, and that's removing bias. Like there's no bias when it comes to AI. Like AI just works off a certain set of rules that you program in it. Yeah, sure, there could be programming bias like when you write in those rules, but no one in their right mind is programming that in. So if AI removes favoritism. Like it doesn't care that you guys are buddies and you guys hang out on weekends, or the AI doesn't care if you're a man or a woman. Like they don't care about those things. They just care about the raw data and the raw input. Where I think, and you can see this in the surveys that are going out there, especially in the US, is where people have the problem right now is the actual surveillance. Like not so much as the data surveillance on like, oh, what am I looking at on my work computer? Like people are getting used to that. It's the, hey, you have to come back in the office and now we have security cameras. Oh, these security cameras can track how long I'm sitting at my desk, how long I'm gone to the washroom, where am I in the building? Like if you have a company phone, like they can track potentially where you are in your facility. Like there's so many more opportunities out there to be worried about than the AI piece, really.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it's one. I wonder if companies are actually seeing productivity boosts from that type of using the technology that way. I mean, by tracking people, are you really are you putting the fear of God into people? Is that really helping you?
And I don't think so. And so sales tracking technologies has existed for years. Like cookies have existed for years. Like you go and click on someone's website, just have the understanding if you're not protecting yourself with your security system, VPN, whatever, know that the company's website knows who you are. And like I've received leads. We've told people how to get leads through these cookies. Like it exists. Like we can see how long you've been on a website, what pages you looked at, all these things. And so when you give that data to your sales team is never going to go call that person as a prospect and say, hey, I see last night at 10:37 you were on our webpage for 18 minutes. Like, what are you thinking about? Like, no one's ever going to say that. You just bring up some excuse on why you're calling them and kind of guide the conversation that way. And I think that management tools and AI management tools like this are going to follow the same reaction. Like you'll know as an employee that these systems exist or that some type of tracking system exists, but you don't know exactly what that tracking system is or does. Yeah. And I'm sure the management is never going to let you know that they are looking at your webcam and seeing how long you're at the computer or whatever. Like that's why webcams have those privacy covenants.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anyone would be that short-sighted to say like, hey, we're tracking how long you're sitting at your desk. There's one way to get everyone to quit. I'd quit.
Well, it's just like, yeah, we were just checking in. We saw you sitting at your desk with your feet up for an awful long time. It's like
wait a minute, for what? My back. It's good for my back.
It's like, oh yeah, just how I sit sometimes. Yeah. Hey, wait, what else did you see?
But I do think that there's more room for a benefit than there is for I don't think the risks outweigh the rewards in this sense. Like I know we've all worked on teams and people know when some people are pulling their weight and other people aren't. I think this is a way to just make sure everyone's pulling their weight, especially when it's your compensation depends on it.
You know, it's funny in a lot of ways. I just kind of thought of this now, but for like a productive employee, it's actually kind of a nice system. Like if you use it in like kind of a really a productive way. Like I liken it to like Microsoft Office, like the new version of it puts out. It's like your daily digest or something like that, right? And so at first I was like, what the hell is this? Because it's tracking all, you know, how long you're on calls for and all that. And I started actually reading it, and it's saying, oh, it's like you usually answer emails in the afternoon and you're usually on calls in the morning, and like usually you're working from like this time to this time, and like I was like, huh, okay. And it was saying, oh, you might want to try, you know, focus, like book time, like from like 2 to 3 or whatever. It's like you just do emails. So don't look at your emails early in the day, just pile it all up in the afternoon and focus on other stuff. So I was thinking, so I actually, like, I try and do that a little bit. In the mornings, I try and just be on the phone talking to people. And then in the afternoon, that's when I'm doing like quiet time stuff.
So based on that then, and this just popped in, it sounds like these tools, and that's essentially what an AI tool is going to do, is more so acting like a manager. Like you're replacing a very mid-level manager.
Yeah, it's replacing like the performance coaching part of a manager, which is like generally probably not very good anyway to begin with. So it's like at that point, the manager becomes like, in my mind, a manager should really be like, it's like a risk man. It's like risk handling, basically, right? So once you get to a certain level, you're making decisions of where to steer the business. Like I don't need the old style of management is like, well, this person needs to be watching this person and on them like a hawk and stuff. Like, no, you don't really need that. Now with exactly, with AI can just do that piece of it, and then it just helps you skinny out people who aren't necessarily terribly useful for you.
Mm-hmm. How now? Let's role play a little bit here. Like, let's say you are a CIO and you want to implement this right now in your company. What objections do you see coming from management and the employee side?
Well, I think it naturally from the employees, anytime that you're collecting information on them or you're monitoring them or anything, you're going to get pushback from it. Pushback from the CIO would be, I think it'd be more like reputational and actually dealing with that pushback because, if they went and hired, say us to come in and do something like that and implement a system like that, then it looks bad on the CIO because everyone knows that it all boils back up to that person, right? So it's a lot of reputation management more than like the actual technology. In practice probably isn't going to be all that what's the word I'm looking for? Controversial, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just going to be that reputation piece and managing how people are interpreting that tool type thing, or how it's helping them versus working against them. And again, that does depend on how you intend to use the tool. Because if you intend to use the tool against them, like you can't, like if you're going to try and spin that a different way, not going to fly. Like you have to have, if you come in with the right intention and then the right messaging with the right intention, that's where you'll get success.
Now, if you were to implement a system like this, like how would you do it? Would you like do a phase rollout, or would you just hit it once and get it over with?
I'd be like phased, but be like very lightweight to start. Because like, again, you want to show people that it's like, we're not here to milk productivity out of you. Like this is to help you be more effective in your day and like kind of it's that concept of being in the stream, right? Like even if you don't really necessarily, you're not married to your job or anything like that, it's like when you're in the stream, you enjoy your job a lot more. Like when things are going well and you're moving quickly, you're getting a lot done, like you enjoy it more. So how do you help your employees get into the stream? And like that's what the tool would be. So you start bringing in small things, just like the example I gave with like, try doing your emails in the afternoon. Like this, based on your activity, this might be a good time for you to do that. Just try it. And that's basics. And then, you do it for a week. Say, oh, okay, this isn't too bad. It's like, okay, here's another one for you. And start adding stuff in. It's like, why don't you try taking, instead of taking a full 1 hour lunch break, why don't you just take a couple breaks throughout the day? Take a 15 here, 15 here, do stuff like that and like break it up. And it's because it doesn't matter to you. You're getting the same dollars in terms of, I hired this guy for 8 hours. I'm getting 8 hours. But, it's helping your employee just better manage their time and fit into the, what they do every day.
Oh yeah. I saw this, came across the software a few days ago that was their whole business. Their whole business is taking data in and analyzing it and seeing when an employee, like what flags are coming up that is showing that the employee is starting to get disengaged and how to manage that and get ahead of it right away. Like, it's very easy to start with a sales team because their indicators are like it's black and white, like it's calls, it's emails, it's sales closed, like that's what you're looking at in most cases. As it spreads to other factors of the business, it's always important to get your team involved at all levels. Like what would a successful year look like for you? Like what is your key performance indicators? And maybe that would help lessen the blow when you're bringing in this technology. Like, okay, you told me this is what a successful year would look like for you. Okay, now we're going to track that and everything. We actually brought something in to help track it. You don't have to worry about tracking it. We'll track it for you.
Yeah, and it's when you ask that question too, because I've been on the receiving end of that question over the years, and it's like how do you answer it? Like it's a tough thing to answer because like what they want to hear and like, what your employer wants to hear. And there's what you actually want to say type thing. So the other piece of it is like going beyond. It's like don't think about what I want to hear. It's like what do you actually want to do? Like are you trying to spend more time with your family, or are you trying to like I want to 4:00 every day my kid plays soccer, I want to be able to go, like just stuff that you want to do. And then okay, we can do that, and then let's use some of these tools we're bringing in to just help you manage time so we can get you doing what you want to do. You still get all your stuff done, and everybody's happy, right? And so, a great example is emails, right? Like if you're doing that, say you do all your active work, your calls and all that stuff during the day, and then, say you take 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 off or whatever, and you pick it up in the evening and you do all your work there. As long as it's getting done, who cares? Like email's a quiet thing you can do by yourself at any time. And if you use a tool like AI to help you with that, why not?
Well, exactly. And you hit the nail on the head, like using other AI tools that are out there to help speed things along. Like the amount of emails that you can auto generate using an AI tool, or at least guide it in the right direction.
Oh yeah.
Why not use all those tools that are available?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and of course the pushback you get on that is like, oh, well, it's like now you're advocating for working outside of 9 to 5. But it's like we're trying to change the way all these tools are changing the way people are working. Like even working from home, we're changing the way people are working. The idea of we're not all boomers here. It's like the 9 to 5 isn't necessarily it's not set in stone anymore. There's a lot of different ways to work, and now with how easy it is to communicate with people across the world, it's kind of hard to work 9 to 5 if you're dealing with people in Europe and Asia. And
it's funny you say that, because I feel like the legislation here in Canada disagrees with you on that. With
probably,
right to private, like all those rules, and it does exist because there are some workplaces that don't believe in that, but I'm a firm believer in setting clear goals, and you are hired not for a set period of time, but you are hired for an outcome. And as long as you can produce that outcome, it's okay, and it can be flexible, because there's no expectation to, unless you are an hourly worker, and that'll be our second point here. But unless you are an hourly worker, there's no expectation on how much work you're going to get done. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen if I only answer 20 emails and not 100 emails? So I get paid hourly, same as this person. Like, I'm not incentivized to do it. So I think it's very important to incentivize people. And one way, you finish your work early. Okay, good. You're done. You can take on more work and get paid more if you want to. If not, okay, that's it. But that moves on to a next piece in this one. And I haven't seen a working system of this yet, but this is tying into camera surveillance and tracking employees' behaviors and actions, and making sure they're doing things right. Like tracking an employee, making sure they wash their hands. Let's say they're in a healthcare setting, they're wearing a face mask. I also saw the one where they were testing it out in what kind of shop was it? A coffee shop. And they're testing how many cups of coffee is this person making versus this person making, like little things like that. That is more on the hourly worker side of things. That is not on the, hey, I'm hiring you for an outcome. I'm hiring your brain power. I'm hiring your expertise. Mm-hmm. And that's what's very important to think of on the employee side. So any employees listening, like, gain skills so people are paying you for your expertise, what you know, not what you can physically output. And then you don't have to worry about AI overtaking your job.
Yeah, that's true. And then I guess on your point, because when you mentioned the cameras watch for like mask compliance stuff, but I can guarantee somewhere in China they got that already. But they have it on like the sidewalks. So you walk too fast across the street, then you get a warning.
One of the articles I was reading there, it was breaking it down by race, their demographics. So age and race, like who's against the artificial intelligence surveillance and employee monitoring software, and overwhelmingly Asian Americans in this study were against it, far more than any other ethnic group. And it makes sense because
that checks out. That checks out.
Yeah. So on this piece, do you see any other emerging benefits right now on this, like employee surveillance and AI tying in piece?
I think from my perspective, we kind of covered it. I think it's hard now because we're also, we're still in those pretty early stages of AI, like especially a lot of the tools that are coming out. I wouldn't even describe them necessarily as AI necessarily. I think that it's just a lot of these, it's almost like generation type tools that are out there that are, if it can create something, we're calling it AI type thing. So we're still in the early days of seeing how it all works. And so I wouldn't say there's a whole lot left. I think it's going to be seeing more of these use cases pop out and like practical use cases. That's what we're really going to start to tell. But I think, there are tools out there right now. If you are looking to take advantage of, there are things you can start with right now. And again, it's like we were saying, start pretty lightweight. Like don't try and like fill your organization with these tools. Like just kind of bring them in here and there where it makes sense, or it's actually going to help your employees and yourself.
Yeah, and I think the important part is to not be over dependent on these tools either.
Yeah.
Like, use them where they're needed, only when they're needed. Don't go out and start using them as coaching tools right away. Except for the coaching tool thing, like you were saying, the insights on this is when you do your calls mostly, this is when you do your emails mostly. Like those things are neat. But if you are tracking like how many keystrokes they're doing an hour and things like that, I'd hold that until it's absolutely necessary, because that pushback is going to be too
You're
much.
not going to get what you want when you do that.
No,
not going to get it. No.
Well, thanks again for joining us this week on the Future Web3 podcast. This week was very AI heavy. We didn't talk very much about blockchain, but if you ever want to hear a topic and our take on it, please drop it in the comments below. And looking forward to chatting with you guys next week.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.